Well, in my previous video, I was talking about this wonderful guitar that I modified a while back, but the tuners were always really bad. So I wanted to see if there was something I could do. And I also wanted to see if the tuner itself could be repaired. There's nothing in there. It's essentially, the worm gear is held by only one side. It goes against the gear that turns the string, and it's got too much movement, and so it's really not very good. It's not a very good tuner. I contacted Gibson and Epiphone about this, and they haven't gotten back to me. I'm guessing they just want to pretend like there's not a problem. And, you know, really, there's not a problem. The gear does work. It just is not very smooth nor very accurate. So, my plan here today is to change out these tuners. So I went online, just so you know, before I went the way I'm going now, but I went online and looked for any tuner that would fit the measurements of this tuner. And I don't like to, if I can help it, I don't like to do a permanent modification to a guitar unless it's absolutely needed. It's really best if you can leave the guitar so that in the future, if you were to sell it or somebody else wanted it or whatever, that they would have a guitar that was unmodified so that they could modify it their way. A lot of people would just go ahead and buy a different tuner, one that they like, maybe let's say Grover Stay-Tights or something like that, and they would fit them to the guitar headstock. They might if the holes are too big, they might fill the hole with a dowel, re-drill, do all that sort of thing. Fill the little screw holes, and then cut new screw holes, that sort of thing. I try not to do that if I can help it, because the fact is that anytime you do any modifications, it can just sort of stack up. Let's say they modify it and do all this filling and all that sort of thing. And the next guy goes, they don't like the tuner, so now they've got to remodify. Next thing you know, you've got a headstock that looks like Swiss cheese in the back. I like to keep it as unmodified as I can. So I looked for tuners that could have these exact same dimensions as this one. And what was I looking for? Well, you're looking for, of course, the distance between the holes, the screw holes here. You're looking for the distance between those screw holes here and here and the post, the center of this post, because that's, you want it all to center, line up perfectly the same way as this tuner does. I can use the same holes. So after looking at about, oh gosh, at least 200 tuning heads like this through, you know, Kluson, Schaller, Wilkinson, Grover, all sorts of different companies. I finally found actually one tuner that won't modify this, and it's made by Hipshot. These are Hipshot tuners, and the way they do it is they provide a small plate on the back here that can fit any hole spacing, essentially any hole spacing, not, you know, literally any hole spacing, I guess. The holes are this far apart, they're not that big. but most any hole spacing on a guitar, they can fit without having to drill any holes at all. They use a front grommet or that tightens down against the tuner, and you have 3 on the side, and that holds it in place. And we're going to see how that works here. So that's what this is about, changing out your tuners and how to do that. Okay, I have already removed 2 of the tuners, and so I'm going to go ahead and remove the rest. I have a little bowl here to keep the screws in. Here we go. Just taking the screws off of these things. They're about a 1/2 inch long. Always be careful when doing this. You don't want to have the screwdriver scratch the finish if you can help it. And these come off pretty easily. Okay, now that I have the screws essentially off, I'm going to pull all the tuners out, and I'm going to save these for later. I'm not going to toss them away or anything like that. I'll save these for the next person. So I need to take these bushings out. Sometimes they'll just pop out. These feel like they're in there pretty tight. So I'm going to use probably just a screwdriver to push them out from the inside. Try not to do any damage to the front. Well, there one popped out. This one seems to be in there tight. Sometimes the finish will grab the bushing and sort of hang on to it. There we go. Another one. Okay. Just take your time, go around the bushing, work its way out. These are in here pretty tight. I'm going to go off in that way. There we go. People often ask, what are these for, these little bushings? And just so you know, obviously they're a nice finishing detail around the hole, finishes off, but mostly they're there to hold the post centered in the hole, the post that goes up through it, hold it there and allow it to spin smoothly. Now the Hipshot use a different type of bushing. They use a screw-in bushing. Okay, I'm going to put these bushings with the other parts. Now the Hipshot tuners use a 10 millimeter hole, and these are 10 millimeter. I measured them earlier, but there are some blobs I can see of lacquer or finish here on the hole. Right here there's one, right here. I'm not sure if you can see that. There's one right here, one right here. And so it may make it so that it doesn't fit very well. We're going to take a look and find out, aren't we? Okay, let's take a look here. So they would go in like this, and I can already feel there's a blob there, and it's in the way. Let's see if any of the other ones. Yeah, see, that one's fine. That one's fine. That one isn't. That one's fine. So there are a couple blobs here. You may run into this problem. What I'm going to do is to take a file and just clean that blob out of there very carefully. This should work. You could use a ream. I don't want to scratch the surface or do anything weird, obviously. See which ones I'm going to need. Oh, that's one. So what I'm going to do is just remove that little bit of finish. See if I can show it to you. And I'll do it with my left hand. You can see I'm just very carefully removing this little blob of finish that's here along the edge. It's just a blob that's in the hole and in the way of its 10 millimeter kind of hole here. Let's see if that's enough. Nope, a little more. Now you could use a ream to do this. A lot of tools you could use to do this. I actually have a ream in my main workshop. I would probably use that. But this is working fine. Just takes a little longer. That looks pretty close. That's the one. Okay. This was the other hole here. You can see the little blob. I'm going to do it with my right hand this time. Just because I'm a lot faster with my right hand. I'm not touching the front side of the hole with the file. I'm only touching this back little area here. So I'm being very careful. That might be it. Let's take a look and see. That's good. This was another one that had a blob on it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I see it. This one's right on the side here. Oops. There we go. Good. Good, good. All the rest are good. Okay. So now we've cleaned the lacquer away from the holes. And we're going to go ahead and install these tuners. Now the way these tuners are installed, they use, let's see if I can get it in front of that camera there. They use this sort of little brackets that sit on the back of the guitar out of sight. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing. I don't know if you could tell. I'll bring it up close to the camera here. I bought tuners that are what they call satin chrome. And the reason I did that is, let me get one of the old tuners here. The old tuners are sort of satin chrome themselves. Not perfect, but it's darn close. So I wanted to have them come very close to what the originals look like. Yeah, you can see them there. Neither of them are overly shiny. They're not like a bright chrome. And on the guitar on the front, there's a satin chrome that's in the tailpiece. So having satin chrome on the headstock and on the tailpiece has a nice balance, the way it looks on the guitar. Okay, so we've got these various little metal plates, and the way they work, and no kidding, this is the first time I'm doing this, but the way they work is they lay on the guitar here, just like that, and oops, there we go, and they cover the holes and look just like that. That's how they match. Whoops, let's do it the right way though. There we go. Just like that. So, we're going to go ahead and install these. Let's try it out here. So it would go this way, and these would drop in, just like that. And it would look something like that. On the other side, we have the collars and the bushings. And drop them on here so I don't lose them onto the floor. We have the collars and the bushings. And the collars, I'm looking at them very carefully here. They look like they could go either way, although there seems to be a flatter side. The flatter side would go towards the guitar. So the collar and the bushing would go on here just like that. Let's see if I can get it up there close, just like that. And It's going to go on the guitar and just screw it into place. I'm going to just barely screw these on for now. They don't need to be on tight yet. Just enough to hold them in place while I'm putting the rest of it together. Okay. Now before I do the other side, I'm going to tighten these down. And to do that, I use a dog bone wrench. Dog bone wrench. Okay, carefully pick this up. Let's turn it around this way so you can see what I'm doing. And find the right size for this. Looks like it might be this one. No, a little bit bigger. It's this one here. And I just tighten down, just like that. There it is. I believe this is a 10 millimeter size, and what happens is you get a nice tightening down. Here, I'll bring it over here so you can see. They tighten down real nice, and they're nice and solid in the back. Real smooth. Now these are locking tuners. I chose locking. You can get them just plain without the lock. I chose locking because they were about the same price. And I do prefer locking tuners. They're just real nice on a gig. You can set them up, and if you lose a string during a gig, it's fast to, to change it out. It really is. It's very fast. So it's a nice thing to have. Okay. So we're going to do the other side now. I'm doing mine so that there are two different little pieces here, and one of them has a larger end. I'm doing the larger end toward the top, and it looks better that way. It sort of balances nicely on the guitar. So let me put these on here. There's one. Two. But you can see this is actually quite fast, this progression of getting this done. And again, I'm going to reach underneath here and put the collar on and the bushing. There you go. There's one on the guitar. I wasn't sure about these little mounting plates, but they actually look pretty nice. Now they do give you, in case you want to screw them in, they do give you set screws for each of these tuners if you prefer to do it that way. Like I said, I wanted to do it without doing any modification. So that's what I did. Here we go. Okay. And now I'm going to tighten these down. There we go. Nice thing about this little dog bone wrench is that sort of keeps you from scratching anything. It actually sits flat onto the collar of the tuner, and it makes it so that you can't even mistakenly scratch, or using a wrench, or sometimes people use an adjustable plier type thing or adjustable wrench and will go down and try to turn it. These keep you from scratching anything, because it's very easy to make mistakes. So I'm just snugging these down. I'm not tuning them farther than they should be. They're just nice and snug. There we go. Snug, snug. Okay. So that's how you put these tuners on here. And again, I'll show it to you up close. They look pretty nice. And that's how they look in the back. Yeah, they look good. It's sad that the little mounting plates here are on satin chrome, but that's okay. Not that big a deal. I don't see that as a big problem. Looks nice on there. Looks like they could have been the originals. And certainly from the front, they definitely look that way because they're that same sort of satin chrome color as this piece here. They're the same satin chrome color. So that's nice. It's a nice balance of doing it. I'm going to go ahead and string this up, and that's how you work these tuners. That's how you install these tuners. I hope I was able to help you out, and in case you have the same sort of problem with the same instrument, or if you just want to change out your tuners. These Hipshot tuners look like a good deal. I'll probably do a little review on them once I get this all strung up, if you want to check that out. Take care.